The explosion didn't come from a gunshot, or a boardroom meltdown, or even from the markets collapsing. It came from a single sentence the billionaire CEO never expected to hear. The sentence that would later be replayed on news channels, whispered in corporate hallways, and written about in business magazines for months. It began in the marble atrium of Brighton Financial Tower, where the polished floors reflected everything except the truth that was about to surface. The CEO, Marissa Brighton, heir to a $3 billion empire and the only woman ever to run the company her grandfather built, stood frozen. Her breathing was soft but shallow. Her fingers trembled, though she hid them behind her tailored navy blazer. She stared at the janitor, a quiet, middle-aged man with rough hands, a faded wedding ring, and a name tag that simply read, Daniel. And then Daniel spoke, 5 words that shattered Marissa's perfect, invincible world. I know why you're sinking. Those were the words that turned her blood to ice. That was the moment everything changed. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Before I tell you why a billionaire CEO ended up asking a janitor for financial advice, and why his answer nearly brought her to her knees, I need you to pause for just 2 seconds. If you're already hooked, which I'm guessing you are, tap the like button and subscribe to the channel The Kindness Chronicles so you never miss stories like this. Now, let's go back to the beginning. Despite the polished press releases, the glossy magazine covers, and the photo ops with politicians, Brighton Investments was hemorrhaging. In just 8 months, the company had lost nearly $280 million, and another $60 million was projected to vanish before the end of the quarter. But no one knew except her. Not the shareholders. Not the board. Not the press. Not even her executive team. Someone was sabotaging the company from the inside, someone with access, someone trusted, and every lead she had followed brought her to a dead end. The pressure ate at her like acid. She had become short-tempered, cold, and paranoid. Sleep was a luxury she no longer remembered. It was on a Tuesday morning, gray, wet, and unpleasant, that the breaking point finally came. She was walking through the atrium after a disastrous call with a European investor when she overheard 2 junior executives laughing. Not maliciously. Not cruelly. But, carelessly. She's got no idea what she's doing, one whispered. Maybe she should ask Daniel for investment tips, the other snorted. He listens to all those money podcasts. The joke sliced deeper than it should have. Her company was crumbling, and they were laughing about it. At her expense. When she rounded the corner and they saw her, the blood drained from their faces. They scrambled apologies, but Marissa didn't hear a word. She was already walking across the atrium, fiery humiliation propelling her. She stopped in front of Daniel, who was mopping the floor near the east elevators. Daniel, she said, louder than necessary, since you're apparently everyone's favorite financial guru, why don't you tell me, what should a failing company do? The question echoed across the atrium. Conversation stopped. Heads turned. It was supposed to be a joke. A sharp, humiliating one. But Daniel didn't smile. He didn't look confused. He didn't even look offended. He simply set the mop aside, rested both hands on the handle, and said in a voice softer than a whisper but powerful enough to silence an entire lobby. I know why you're sinking. Marissa blinked. What did you just say? He nodded once, slow and steady. You asked. That's the truth. Her cheeks tightened. Heat rose up her throat. You don't know anything about my company. I know enough to see what's wrong, Daniel replied calmly. And I've known for months. His certainty felt like a slap. People were watching. Too many. Follow me, he added. Her pride screamed no. Her curiosity whispered, what does he know? Before she could stop herself, she followed him into a supply closet. Inside, the smell of lemon disinfectant stung her nose. The fluorescent light flickered overhead. Daniel reached into his locker and pulled out a binder. A thick one. Labeled in black marker. Brighton Investments, Internal Risk Patterns. Her breath caught. What is that? Daniel placed it on a crate, flipping it open. I've been watching the transactional patterns in the expense reports. Her jaw tensed. Daniel. Janitors do not have access to expense files. No, he said. But I see the trash. She froze. I clean the CEO floor 3 nights a week. The recycling bins, the shredders, the desks. You'd be surprised what people throw away when they think no one is paying attention. He turned another page. Highlighted printouts. Crossed out numbers. Handwritten notes. Patterns she herself hadn't found. Your numbers aren't disappearing, he said. They're being moved. What? Shifted. Layered. Hidden under vendor shell accounts. Someone's siphoning money in consistent, predictable intervals. Her heart punched against her ribs. Impossible. No, possible. Likely. Terrifyingly likely. You're telling me someone inside is embezzling, she whispered. Daniel looked up, and for the first time she noticed the sadness in his eyes. I'm telling you, he said, someone inside has already stolen more than $60 million. Her stomach dropped. And then, his final blow. And I think I know who. The truth in the trash. Marissa leaned against the wall, dizzy. You know who's stealing from me? Daniel nodded. Everything points to the same signature. She swallowed hard. Whose? He hesitated. Someone you trust. Her voice cracked. Daniel, just tell me. He closed the binder. Your chief operating officer. Thomas Grayson. She felt the world tilt. Thomas? Her mentor? Her father's best friend? The man who had promised her he'd protect her legacy? No, she whispered. No, there's no way. But the wavering in her voice betrayed her. Daniel opened to a page filled with dates. Every suspicious transfer happens right after he travels. Every shell vendor links back to a single IP address shared only with his executive workstation. And every night he leaves early, right after shredding more documents than anyone else in the company. Tears burned her eyes, but she blinked them back. Why didn't you tell anyone? I'm a janitor, he said simply. No one listens to the guy who empties the trash. The words hit her harder than the revelation. He wasn't wrong. She had walked past him 100 times. 1,000. She never asked his name. Never asked his story. Never asked who he was outside the uniform. Why did you start looking into this? She asked softly. Daniel stared at the binder as if it were a gravestone. Because years ago, he said quietly, my wife and I lost our home because of corporate fraud. A company we trusted collapsed from the inside. No one stopped it. No one listened. I promised myself that if I ever saw it happening again, I wouldn't stay silent. Marissa's chest tightened. This man, this invisible man, had done what no one else inside her company had. He'd protected her legacy more than anyone with a 6-figure salary. Daniel, she whispered, you may have just saved Brighton Investments. He gave a faint, tired smile. I hope so. That afternoon, Marissa launched a covert audit. By midnight, Thomas Grayson was escorted out of the building in handcuffs. The news spread like wildfire. But what didn't spread, what almost no one knew, was how the truth was discovered. Because when shareholders demanded answers, when the board demanded explanations, when the press begged for interviews, Marissa simply said, we caught the thief because someone saw what others ignored. She never said his name. But she did something better. 2 weeks later, she walked into the custodial office. Daniel was wiping down a tool rack. Daniel, she said.